to actually talk in such a really tight circle of designers. It's fantastic, and I'd like to thank AGDA and Matthew and sort of everybody that's been involved in the invite of getting me to Adelaide, a town which I love. I've been working in Adelaide for a long time now, and sort of over a period of years. But although I live in Melbourne, Adelaide means a lot to me. So it's sort of it's really nice to be invited here. Michael Wolff gave a talk in at the Singapore Design Conference in 1991, and it sort of it was called Bursting the Designer Bubble. I really still think this is as relevant today as it was almost over 20 years ago, and in fact it's even more relevant, I think, because it's sort of designers tend to talk to themselves, not the world or people. It's sort of, and I think that if we can actually sort of extend that and get into some humanity, then it sort of, I think it could be really good. I started in the north of England when I was 11 years of age, and I'm not the big guy on the left, I'm the little guy in the middle. The guy who's leant over me became one of my mentors and inspirations. I think that in a journey in life, it's never stopping to actually sort of be complacent. Even today, I'm willing to learn anything that comes my way. It's sort of really important. I did this drawing when I was about 15. It was a little sketch for a painting, and it's sort of, I put this in because I've found a lot of early stuff, and unfortunately a lot of it, that's 1963, so that's a pencil drawing. I wasn't allowed to use colour for a year. It was a bit like the Bauhaus. I was doing life drawing. This is Mrs. Rigg. She was a model, and I was the youngest by far in the life drawing classes. It was quite a thing for me seeing naked women in front of me, but I got used to that as I got older. That wombat was called Samantha. She was my first contact with Indigenous animals, and I got to know Samantha really well. In Australia, I became sort of connected to imagery that sort of that really meant things to me, and this was it was done for Raleigh. Raleigh picked this paper up. I actually designed the paper as well as the paper promotion. I did most of the illustrations for this. It was written around sort of themes of Australia. I did a lot of paper stuff and tried to actually make it part of what this country is. I was trying to soak up what this country is and what it can do. Forget New York, forget London, forget all this trendy stuff. Let's think about Australia. And it's often said about what is Australian design? I don't know what Australian design is. This was a promotion for the panda visit to Melbourne Zoo, and that was '88 in the centenary years. I tried to do the illustrations as much as I could, as well as the design. I had a ball on house brand packaging. We did everything from babies' nappies to cat food to whatever. I suppose really what I'm trying to say here is that even in a commercial business, I still try to get a bit of a different dimension into something that's pretty ordinary. This was the first full-colour milk carton, and it was actually done by Ron Brooks, the children's book illustrator who did the Bunyip of Barclays Creek. And really in those days, well, and maybe these days, kids didn't know that milk came from cows. They thought they came in bloody cartons in supermarkets. So we actually put a farm scene on. Paper promotions have always been really, for me, an exploratory sort of way of designing sort of cultural things. I've always been interested in the natural world and sort of, if you like, sliding into trying to do something with the planet. Done postage stamps. The top was sort of bicentennial stamps. I was always into fictitious creatures. This is a bunyip. I did for my kids, and it ended up becoming a stamp and a wine label. A really good Adelaide girl, Emma Balfour. I don't know where she is these days, but she was a really top model. And I've been involved in fashion. I did a lot of sports girl stuff, art directed, and had a lot of young art directors and designers with me. It's not landscape, it's home, is what my wife coined in Kakadu. This is the man that changed my life, Bill Nighy. He was an elder from Kakadu, a Gagaju man, and he really changed my life. He turned my head around and made me think of the way this country, he taught me how to think differently in this country. So this was part of a poem of Bill Nighy, was a Gagaju man, and put out a book called Story of Feeling. And this is one of the poems, or one of the, yeah, he was a poet. When you actually meet somebody that changes your life, you really, it's an amazing experience, believe me. This is part of his country. This is Kakadu, part of Kakadu National Park. Actually, this building is Tropo. This is Tropo Murkit. This is the Bawali headquarters in Kakadu, and it's that's where I met Phil Harris and Glenn Murkit, and that was part of my experience working with Bill Nighy that changed my life. This was the main sign for the Bawali Visitor Centre, and it's interesting because that type is the same reflective foil as you see on a motorway. So at night you get this line of type in your headlights. This is part of that exhibition. We use found objects in Bawali. I'm very hands-on. I like painting. I like painting walls. We build models and sort of make things and sort of, you know, it's great using your hands, by the way. It really is fantastic. Warajan is a pig-nosed turtle. It's sort of, and that is a pig-nosed turtle, and it's a piece of rock art. In the end, they said, Dave, we want you to do it. So I took it from some rock art, and it sort of, I felt really honoured to do that, because I actually have 4 drawings of Warajan turtles from different guys, and they said, no, you do it. This is part of Warajan. This is the internal sort of, you know, exhibition. We designed the floor in different timbers, 3 different timbers, so it was like rock. We brought rocks in. We emulated bark paintings for the signage. They were silk screened and waxed, and it sort of, to me, it was a living experience. I painted the textures on the wall, and that rainbow serpent you see in the centre was actually painted by somebody we flew down from Arnhem Land, and he painted it. It really is a time to actually use graphic design in a different way. I suppose is what I keep coming back to. This is a filling station at Turkey Creek, and all the petrol pumps have been painted by kids who've asked the elders who own the paintings, the marks, can they paint the petrol pumps? And they said, yeah, of course you can. Don't you reckon that's fantastic? I reckon it's brilliant. I mean, it beats bloody, look at it, it's wonderful. I mean, obviously prepay your fuel because people do runners, like big time. So that's not the brand. It is just superb. I mean, it's sort of, I was just transfixed. Then we got more into AP lands. This is still in South Australia, by the way, and no Helvetica to be seen. What better way to do signage than an old car bonnet? Huh? Hey, it's sort of great. You stick it on a few things, give it a cut of paint, and away you go. And there it is, everywhere. It's fantastic, it's brilliant. This is graphic design in the raw. It's just brilliant. And this, by the way, going back to Herzog de Meuron, who did the bird's nest, this is where they got their inspiration from. It's a mulga ant nest in the middle of the bush. Don't you reckon that looks like the bird's nest? Brilliant. Inspiration from nature has got to be the best way to go, in my opinion. This is a quote by Rudy Bauer. You know, Rudy is French designer. Designers have a responsibility to protect cultural diversity. We're losing cultural diversity like you wouldn't believe. So thank you very much for your attention. I really appreciate it.